Drop it. The bucket slammed against the stone wall, water spilling across dry dirt. The boy coughed hard, choking on what little he had swallowed. The woman grabbed him fast, pulling him back like the water had teeth. I said drop it. The cowboy stood a few steps away, rifle steady but not raised. His voice stayed low, flat. He wasn't shouting. That made it worse. We ain't stealing, the woman said. Her voice cracked but didn't break. We just needed a sip. You're on my land. She shook her head slowly. Ain't yours no more. The cowboy didn't blink. You lost? We were pushed. The smallest child, a girl with dirt caked under her eyes, crawled toward the spilled water. Her hands trembled as she tried to scoop mud and liquid together. The woman lunged forward and slapped her hand away. No. The girl started crying. Mama, I'm thirsty. I know. Then why? I said no. The cowboy frowned. He lowered the rifle just a little. You got kids starving and you're knocking water out their hands? The woman didn't answer. She kept her arm around the girl, holding her back like something worse than thirst waited in that puddle. The boy coughed again, harder this time. It burns. The cowboy stepped closer now, slow, careful. Water don't burn. The boy looked up at him with red eyes. This one does. The cowboy stared at the well. The rope swayed slightly, though there was no wind. He didn't like that. Let me draw you a clean bucket, he said. No. The answer came too fast. He looked at the woman. You don't get to say no. She met his eyes, steady. I do if I want them alive. Silence stretched between them. The cowboy studied her face now. Dirt, bruises, something darker under the skin. He shifted his gaze to her wrist. Marks. Thin, carved lines. Not fresh, but not old enough to fade. What happened to you? She pulled her sleeve down. Nothing you fix. Who did that? No one you fight. The cowboy exhaled through his nose. You running from law? The boy shook his head fast. They ain't law. Quiet, the woman snapped. They put us in the ground, the boy whispered anyway. The cowboy's grip tightened on the rifle. What? They said we belonged there. The woman closed her eyes for a second, like she had already lost the fight. Then she opened them again and looked straight at the cowboy. We didn't come here to cause trouble. Then why here? She turned her head toward the well. Because this one started it. The cowboy followed her gaze. The stone ring looked like any other. Old, cracked, used. But something about the darkness inside it felt wrong now. You talking in circles, he said. I'm talking plain. Then say it plain. She hesitated. The girl clung tighter to her side. Water remembers, the woman said finally. The cowboy almost laughed, but something in her face stopped him. She wasn't trying to scare him. She was warning him. That so? Yes. And what's it remembering? Her voice dropped lower. Everything they did. The boy started shaking. Don't make her say it. I ain't making anyone do anything, the cowboy said. You already did, the woman replied. Another silence. He looked at the children again. Thin. Pale. Eyes too old for their faces. You can stay the night, he said after a moment. That's it. The woman didn't move. We don't sleep near wells. You don't got a choice. We always got a choice. Not here. She looked down at the ground, then back at him. Then we don't drink. The cowboy nodded once. Suit yourself. He stepped past them, grabbing the rope. The fibers felt rough in his hands. Familiar. Solid. Don't, the woman said. He ignored her and lowered the bucket. The rope creaked as it slid down. The sound echoed deeper than it should have. The boy covered his ears. "It's loud." "It's just a rope," the cowboy said. "No," the boy whispered. "It ain't." The bucket hit water far below. A dull, heavy splash. The cowboy waited a second, then started pulling it back up. Halfway up, he paused. Something felt off. The weight shifted, like something moved inside the bucket. "You feel that?" he asked. The woman shook her head slowly. "I feel everything." The rope twitched in his hands. The girl stared at the well, her face going pale. "It's looking." The cowboy pulled harder now. "Nothing's looking." "Yes, it is." The boy stepped back, shaking. "It knows us." "Enough," the cowboy snapped. But his voice didn't carry the same weight anymore. The bucket rose higher. Water sloshed inside. Dark. Thicker than it should be. He set it down hard on the ground. For a second, no one spoke. Then the girl leaned close to the rim, her lips parting. The woman grabbed her shoulder tight. "Don't drink that water." The girl froze. The cowboy stared into the bucket. Something moved under the surface. Not a ripple. Something deeper. The boy whispered, barely a breath. "It's calling. It's calling." The boy's voice barely reached past his lips, but it landed heavy. The cowboy didn't look at him. His eyes stayed locked on the bucket. The surface had gone still again, too still, like it had never moved at all. "You're hearing things," the cowboy said. "I ain't," the boy replied. The girl leaned closer, her small fingers gripping the edge. "It said my name." The woman pulled her back fast. "Don't listen." "I didn't want to," the girl said, trembling. "It just said it." The cowboy straightened. "There's nothing in there but water." "Then why won't you drink it?" the woman shot back. He didn't answer. The rope swayed again behind him. A slow, soft creak. He turned his head toward the well. The darkness inside it felt deeper now, like it had stretched while no one was looking. "You hear that?" the boy asked. "Hear what?" "That." The cowboy listened. At first, nothing. Just the dry air, the faint shifting of dirt under boots. Then something slipped through. A sound under the silence. Low. Faint. Like breath dragged across stone. He stiffened. "Wind." "There ain't no wind," the woman said. The sound came again. Longer this time. Not wind. Not rope. Something else. The girl pressed her hands to her ears. "Make it stop." "I ain't doing nothing," the cowboy muttered. "You are," the woman said. "You pulled it up. It's a well." "It ain't just that." The boy stepped closer to the bucket before anyone could stop him. He stared down into it, eyes wide, unblinking. "What do you see?" the cowboy asked. The boy didn't answer right away. His lips moved first, like he was listening before speaking. "I see dirt." "Yeah," the cowboy said. "That's called the bottom." "No," the boy whispered. "Under it." The woman grabbed his arm. "Step back." "He's down there," the boy said. "Who?" The boy blinked slowly. "Me." The cowboy felt something cold slide through his chest. "That don't make sense." "It don't have to," the woman said. The boy's voice changed then. Not louder. Just flatter. Older. "He made us drink." The cowboy's head snapped toward him. "What?" The boy kept staring into the water. "Said it would keep us quiet." "Stop it," the woman said, shaking him. "You stop that now." But the boy didn't react. His face stayed empty. "We stayed quiet," he went on. "Even when they covered us." The cowboy took a step back. That ain't the kid talking. I know, the woman said. Her voice broke for the first time. I know. The girl started crying again, softer now, like she was trying not to be heard. I don't want to hear it. The sound from the well grew stronger. Not loud, but clearer. Words starting to shape inside it. Not one voice. Many. Pressed together. The cowboy grabbed the bucket and kicked it over. Water spilled into the dirt again. Fast. Desperate. Enough. The boy gasped and stumbled back, blinking like he had just woken up. What happened? The woman pulled him close. You're all right. No, I ain't, the boy said. I was somewhere else. The cowboy wiped his hands on his shirt like he could get rid of something stuck to them. It's done. No, the woman said quietly. It ain't. The ground where the water had spilled started to darken. Not soaking in. Sitting there. Thick. The cowboy stared at it. That's not right. Nothing here is, she replied. The rope creaked again. Louder now. The cowboy turned just in time to see it twitch. Not sway. Twitch. Like something had pulled it from below. He grabbed it on instinct. Hold still. Don't, the woman said sharply. I ain't letting it move on its own. You ain't stopping it either. The rope jerked again, stronger. The cowboy tightened his grip and started pulling. Stop pulling, the woman said. I'm getting it out. You'll wake it. He ignored her. His boots dug into the dirt as he hauled the rope up. The weight felt wrong. Heavier than before. What's in there? He muttered. Not water, the boy said. The girl shook her head, crying harder now. It's mad. Things don't get mad, the cowboy snapped. This one does, the woman said. The bucket came into view, rising slow over the stone edge. The cowboy dragged it up and set it down hard again. No one moved. The water inside didn't ripple. Didn't settle. It just sat there, dark and thick, like it had weight of its own. The cowboy crouched slightly, squinting into it. That ain't right. The surface shifted. Not from motion. From inside. A shape pressed up against it, just for a second. Then gone. The cowboy stood up fast. You saw that? The woman didn't answer. She was staring at the well itself now. They're not staying down anymore, she said. The boy grabbed her hand. They said we took something. We didn't take nothing, she replied. The boy shook his head. We took time. The cowboy looked between them, jaw tight. I need straight answers. You won't get them, the woman said. Then I'll find them. He turned back to the well, stepping closer. The darkness inside seemed to shift again, deeper than before. Behind him, the girl whispered, her voice thin and shaking. It's not just calling now. The cowboy paused. What is it doing? She swallowed hard. It's listening. It's listening. The girl's voice faded into the still air, but the feeling stayed. The cowboy didn't move for a moment. Then he turned slowly, eyes shifting from the well back to the family. Nothing listens from a hole, he said. The woman met his stare. You keep saying what things should be. And you keep saying what they ain't. Because I've seen it. The cowboy stepped closer to her now, not threatening, but firm. Then show me something real. She hesitated. The boy clung to her side. The girl stayed behind her, peeking out with wide eyes. You don't want that, the woman said. I do. No. I said I do. The woman looked down at her wrist. Slowly, she pulled the sleeve back again. The marks caught the low light from the fire the cowboy had started. Thin cuts. Curved lines. Not random. The cowboy leaned in. That ain't no accident. I didn't say it was. Who carved it? She stayed quiet. Sheriff? No. Then who? She looked up at him, something heavy sitting behind her eyes. Men who don't wear stars but still get saluted. The cowboy frowned. That don't make sense. It does where we came from. The boy spoke softly. They had badges once. The cowboy glanced at him. Once? They stopped needing them, the woman said. Silence settled for a second. The fire crackled low between them. What do the marks mean? The cowboy asked. The woman ran her thumb over the carved lines. Ownership. Like cattle? Worse. The cowboy's jaw tightened. No one owns people. They do when no one stops them. The girl shifted behind her. They said we belong to the ground now. The cowboy looked back at the well without meaning to. That's what the boy said. He wasn't wrong, the woman replied. You telling me they buried folks alive? Yes. And you got out? Her voice dropped. Not all of me did. The cowboy studied her face, trying to find a crack, a lie, anything that made this simpler. He didn't find it. Why come here? He asked again. She pointed toward the well. Because this is where it started. You said that. And you didn't hear it. I'm hearing it now. The boy stepped forward a little. They used this one first. For what? The boy swallowed. Practice. The cowboy felt something twist in his chest. Practice for what? The woman answered this time. For making people disappear without a trace. He looked back at the well again, slower now. The stone ring didn't look the same anymore. The cracks felt like lines of something buried deeper. They dumped them in, he asked. At first. And then? They learned it was cleaner to cover them. The cowboy rubbed his face, trying to steady himself. Why mark you? So they knew who was already claimed. Claimed for what? The woman didn't answer right away. The boy did. For going back. The cowboy's eyes narrowed. Back where? The boy pointed at the ground. There. Silence again. Heavy. The girl suddenly spoke, her voice small. It hurts less if you don't fight. The woman pulled her close. You don't say that. They told us to say it. They told you wrong. The cowboy exhaled slowly. Why didn't you leave sooner? We tried. And? They always found us. How? The woman looked at her wrist again. Marks don't fade. The cowboy reached out without thinking, grabbing her wrist gently. He turned it toward the firelight. The cuts were deeper than he thought. Old, but still raised. Like they never healed right. This symbol, he said quietly. I've seen it. The woman went still. Where? He didn't answer right away. His eyes drifted past her, toward the land beyond the well. The cowboy leaned in slightly, squinting. That ain't possible. Behind him, the woman's voice came low and steady. It never stopped. The cowboy didn't respond. His eyes stayed locked on the darkness. The shape moved again. Closer this time. And for a brief second, it looked like a hand pressing against the inside of the well wall. The rope twitched again. Not a sway, not a wind-blown jerk, but a pull from deep below. The cowboy's hands tightened on it instinctively. He squinted down into the dark, feeling the cold seep into his bones. The bucket's shadow stretched across the stone wall, blacker than it should be. You're making it worse, the woman snapped. I need to see, the cowboy said. His voice was calm, but his stomach twisted. You don't. I do. She pressed her hand against his chest. You can't. He shook her off. I have to. The children huddled behind her, trembling. The boy's voice quivered. You'll see things you can't unsee. I've already seen enough, the cowboy muttered. The bucket reached the edge again, and he braced himself. The water inside sloshed oddly. Thick, dark. Moving against the pull of gravity. The rope hummed in his hands, alive. It's not just water, the woman said. It's waiting. Waiting for what? He asked. For you, she said simply. He froze, thinking it a threat, but her eyes held truth. A warning older than the wood and stone beneath their feet. The rope jerked again, hard. He yanked it up. The bucket slammed against the stone edge. Water spilled across the dirt, dark and heavy. He leaned closer, peering into it. A face appeared for an instant, pale, wet, impossible, staring back at him. Then it vanished. The boy gasped. They see you now. The cowboy stepped back, heartbeat thundering. Stop saying that. They're always seeing, the woman said. Her fingers dug into the boy's shoulder. Always. I don't believe, the cowboy started. You will, the woman interrupted. Her voice was low, urgent. They don't forget. They wait for the next mistake. The bucket trembled on its own, shifting slightly to the left. The cowboy's grip tightened. He pulled harder. Rope scraped against stone. A low moan rose from below. Not human. Not wind. Something trapped. Let it go, the woman whispered. I can't, he said. I have to know. A sudden splash. The water surged, half the bucket spilling. The cowboy staggered, nearly dropping the rope. The girl screamed. Stop, she yelled, tears streaming. Stop. He froze. The wet, dark water rippled unnaturally. Shapes moved under the surface, faintly human. Arms, hands, faces. Shadows that shouldn't exist. They weren't meant to survive, the woman said quietly, almost to herself. But they did. That's why it calls. The cowboy swallowed hard, his voice rough. What do you mean? They weren't buried deep enough, she said. They came back, but part of them stayed. The boy pressed his hand against the woman's arm. I saw them. I know, she whispered. So did we all. The cowboy glanced at the children. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Alive, but carrying the weight of something buried. He felt a tight knot in his chest. Why me? Because you drew the water, the woman said. Because you're looking now. Because you listen. The rope twitched again. Stronger this time. He yanked it back with all his strength. The bucket crashed to the ground, water spilling over his boots. He leaned in, trying to peer into the darkness below. Nothing. Only still, black water. You didn't see it, the boy said, voice shaking. I saw enough, the cowboy said. Not enough, the woman corrected. You need to see everything. Everything? He asked. His voice was low, tense. I don't think I can. Yes, you can, she said. And you will. The bucket moved again, tilting slightly as though something beneath nudged it. The rope hummed in his hands. He realized it wasn't just water. It wasn't just a well. It was a cage. A memory. A mouth. A witness. The cowboy's jaw tightened. You're insane, he muttered. No, the woman said. Insane is what they made us. We only survived because we kept our minds sharp. And now it wants you. Me? Yes. You drew first. You're next to remember. The boy whimpered. I don't want to remember. I know, the woman said, stroking his hair. I know. The cowboy forced himself to breathe. What am I supposed to remember? All of it, she said. Every scream. Every hand. Every name carved into the stone. Every one of them waiting below. He stared at the bucket, shaking slightly. The rope pulsed in his hands, as if responding. He lowered it carefully, trying to steady his racing thoughts. Something shifted beneath the surface. Dark shapes moved again, slower now. Hands brushing the water. Faces appearing and disappearing like smoke. "They're showing you," the woman said softly. "But you can't run from it." "I don't know if I can." "You will," she said. "Or you'll join them." The rope twitched violently. He yanked it up again, unsteady. The bucket rose over the edge. He braced himself, staring down into the darkness. One face lingered a moment longer than the others. Eyes wide. Empty. And then it blinked at him. The girl gasped. "Mama!" "They're awake," the woman said. The cowboy leaned back, chest heaving. I can't unsee that." "No one can," the woman said. "But you can act. You have to." He looked at her. At the children. At the rope that hummed like a living thing in his hands. The well was no longer a hole. It was a story. A warning. A power. Something that had waited generations to be understood, and now he held the first piece of it. "I don't know if I want to act," he admitted. "You already did," the woman said. The boy whispered, voice breaking. "You pulled it first." The cowboy lowered the rope slowly. The water glinted darkly in the firelight. Shapes beneath moved still, but more deliberately now, as if aware he was watching. He swallowed, a lump in his throat, and looked at the woman again. "Why us?" he asked. "Because they didn't finish," she said. "And now you're here." He swallowed again. The rope felt heavier, colder. The well was not empty. Not silent. Not forgiving. "You'll see the rest soon," she said. He nodded slowly. He didn't want to, but he knew she was right. Something shifted beneath the bucket one last time before the rope went slack, humming faintly in his hands. The cowboy took a deep breath. "I'm ready," he said. The woman looked at him, a faint tremor of relief passing through her. "We'll see." He stared into the well, dark and alive, and knew that nothing would ever feel normal again. The water waited, and he had just started listening. Hoofbeats echoed from the dusty road beyond the firelight. The cowboy stiffened. The woman stiffened. The children huddled closer. It was no wind. No animal. Something on horseback, deliberate, organized. The sound grew louder, heavier, boots of horses striking uneven earth. "Who's coming?" the boy whispered, clutching his mother's arm. "Men," the woman said softly. "They always come." The cowboy glanced toward the road, eyes narrowing. "Authority?" "They call themselves that," she said, her tone bitter. "But they're only hungry for control." A shadow fell across the fire. The sheriff rode in first, tall, broad, leather hat pulled low. Behind him, 4 men, their badges glinting faintly in the fading sun. Their horses kicked up dust. The cowboy's hand went to his belt, but not his gun. "Not yet." "You housing runaways?" the sheriff asked, voice calm, controlled. "They're starving," the cowboy replied. "They need water." "Not our concern," the sheriff said, dismounting. His boots hit the dirt with deliberate weight. "They're trespassing." "They're children," the woman said quietly. "They're trespassing," the sheriff repeated, ignoring her. His men circled, eyes sharp. The boy whispered, "Don't let them take us." "You're not going anywhere," the woman said, holding them close. The cowboy stepped forward. "This is my land." "Not anymore," the sheriff said, holding up a folded paper. "Ownership revoked months ago. This property now falls under the crown or what passes for it here." The cowboy's hand twitched near the rope by the well. The children shuffled, small whispers of fear brushing the edges of the campfire. "They can't just," he started. "They can," the sheriff said calmly, like stating a fact. "And they will." The girl whimpered, hiding behind her mother's skirt. He's the one from the dark. The sheriff paused. His gaze flicked briefly, almost humanly hesitant. Then returned to control. Quiet child. You speak nonsense. They're not nonsense, the woman said sharply. They remember. You don't. The cowboy clenched his jaw. This is my land. These kids don't belong to anyone but me. They belong to whoever controls the water, the sheriff said. And whoever controls the water, controls everything. The boy stared at the sheriff, face pale. It's the first well. The one you used first. The sheriff blinked. Almost imperceptibly. You don't understand. I understand enough, the cowboy said, voice low. Enough to know you're not leaving here in control. The sheriff's hand went to his hip, not for a weapon, but for a display of authority. You think you can stop it? I don't think. I know. The woman's voice cut in, sharp, urgent. If you touch them, the well won't forgive. You won't either. The sheriff smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We deal with what we must. Control the land, control the people. That's all there is. The cowboy stepped closer, standing by the well. You control nothing. The sheriff's men moved, subtly, circling. The girl cried softly. The boy clung to his mother, whispering prayers he didn't understand. You got documents, the cowboy said. You got men. You got badges. But this land has memory. You're trespassing in someone else's story. The sheriff laughed quietly. Memory don't pay taxes. They'll remember you, the woman said. Even if you think you're safe. One of the sheriff's men shifted uncomfortably. Sir, maybe we should just... Silence, the sheriff snapped. His tone sharp, final. The cowboy looked at the bucket by the well. Dark, thick water. Shapes moved beneath the surface. He didn't have to speak. Everyone could feel it. The sheriff noticed too, the tiniest hesitation, like he glimpsed something he shouldn't. The boy whispered again, they're awake. The cowboy's eyes met the woman's. No words. Just understanding. The sheriff cleared his throat. Pull the bucket. I want water drawn from this well. Everyone drinks. That's the law. The cowboy's hand hovered over the rope. His jaw tightened. I said you control nothing. You'll obey, the sheriff said. Or you'll be taken away. The woman pressed her forehead to the boy's hair. They can't take you. Not if the well doesn't want it. The rope twitched. Not a subtle shift. A sudden pull, enough to make the cowboy stumble. The sheriff's hand dropped near his hip again. The cowboy straightened, eyes locked on the water. Draw it, he said finally. His voice flat, calm. If you want to see what's waiting. The sheriff hesitated. The men shuffled uneasily. Dust rose around the fire, falling in silence. The cowboy's fingers tightened around the rope. The bucket swayed above the stone edge. Water thick, dark, unyielding. Faces pressed just beneath the surface, pale and silent. They're not just water, the woman said softly, almost to herself. They're memory. They're justice. And they're patient. The sheriff's hand went to the rope, hesitated. He could feel the weight, but something else tugged at him. Fear. Not for the first time in his life. You're too late, the boy said. They've been waiting for you. The sheriff's eyes flicked down. For a moment, the badges on his chest seemed meaningless. The land was older than the law. The well was older than him. The cowboy's grip didn't falter. This is my warning, he said. One step closer and you'll see what belongs to no one. Not you, not your men, not the law. The sheriff swallowed, his voice quiet. You think this is a bluff? No, the cowboy said. I know. the girl cried softly. The boy pressed his face into his mother's chest. The woman whispered a prayer, low and urgent. The well's water shimmered unnaturally. Dark shapes moved beneath the surface, deliberate now, rising slowly. Not rushing, but insistent. Watching. Waiting. The sheriff's men shuffled backward. The cowboy didn't move. His hands stayed on the rope, steady. His eyes never left the bucket. "They're awake," the woman said. "Pull it," the boy said, voice trembling. "Pull it, and you'll see." The sheriff's mouth opened, then closed. His authority faltered for the first time. He could feel it, something in the earth, something older than men, older than law, older than him. The cowboy nodded slightly to the woman and children. "Draw the water," he said. The rope trembled in his hands. The bucket swayed above the stone edge. The water waited. And beneath it, the darkness waited too. The bucket hung heavy over the well's edge, dark water sloshing slowly inside. The sheriff stepped forward, boots crunching on the dry dirt. His hand hovered over the rope, but his hesitation betrayed him. He wasn't used to fear. Not like this. Not from something he couldn't control. "Drink," he said, voice flat, almost bored, like issuing a command would make it real. The woman stepped in front of the children, arms wide. "No." "Then die," the sheriff said. The boy gasped and clutched his mother's sleeve. "You can't." "I can," the sheriff replied. He took a step closer, badge glinting faintly in the firelight. "It's law. Drink or be buried." The cowboy stepped in front of him, hand on the rope. "I'll drink first." "You're insane," the woman whispered, gripping his arm. "I'm not insane," the cowboy said, voice steady. "I'm alive." "Don't," she begged. "You don't know what's down there." "I do enough," he said. His eyes locked on the water. Dark. Thick. Patient. Shapes moved beneath the surface, slow, deliberate. Watching. The sheriff smirked. "Brave or stupid?" "Both," the cowboy said. "Maybe more." He leaned forward and dipped his fingers in. The water clung to them like ink, cold, pulling at his skin. He raised a hand to his lips and drank. The liquid slid down his throat, thick, heavy, tasting of dirt, iron, and something older he couldn't name. Silence fell. The fire crackled. The children held their breath. The sheriff's jaw tightened. Then the whispers came. First faint, then clearer. Voices of men, women, children. Some pleading, some angry, some laughing like they'd never been allowed to. Names spilled from the cowboy's lips before he realized he was speaking. Names he shouldn't know. Names carved into stone, into memory, into blood. The boy gasped. You know them." "I do," the cowboy said, voice low, trembling. "And they know me." The sheriff shifted uneasily. "Impossible," he said. "They buried them here," the cowboy said, eyes still on the bucket. "And now they're awake. They want what's owed." The water rippled unnaturally, thick shadows pressing toward the surface. The sheriff took a cautious step back. "This is nonsense," he said. "You didn't see it," the cowboy said. "You haven't drunk yet. You won't survive it." The sheriff's hand hovered over his gun, but he didn't reach for it. Something told him it wouldn't help. Not here. Not now. The woman stepped close to the boy and girl. "Cover your ears," she whispered. "Don't listen." "They're too late," the boy said softly. "They've already seen you." The cowboy lowered the bucket slowly, studying the dark water. Faces pressed just beneath the surface, pale, wet, eyes staring. Not frantic. Not pleading. Just waiting. Watching. "You want them?" the sheriff asked, voice tight. "They're already mine," the cowboy said. The bucket trembled in his hands. He lifted it again, pouring a little into a tin cup he carried. He offered it toward the children. The girl recoiled. The boy shook his head. "Drink," he said softly. "You'll see them. You'll remember. You'll understand why they wait." The boy shook harder. "No. You have to," the cowboy said. "Or you'll never be free." The sheriff scowled. "Enough riddles. I said drink." The cowboy turned to him. "You're not ready." The sheriff laughed, but it sounded brittle. "Then what happens?" "They decide," the cowboy said. "And they decide all of it." The rope jerked violently, pulling against the cowboy's hands. The water sloshed and surged. Shapes moved faster now, faces pressing upward, hands reaching, shadows of bodies long buried. The children screamed, pressed into their mother. The cowboy swallowed, feeling the weight of centuries in the liquid. Names rolled through his mind, each one like a hammer striking. Screams, laughter, sobs, whispers. The sheriff's face drained. I don't understand." "You never will," the cowboy said. "Not until you feel them." A shadow flickered beneath the water. Something moved faster than the eye could follow. It hit the surface with a splash that sent droplets flying over boots and fire. The sheriff stumbled back, fear finally breaking through his control. What is that?" "Justice," the cowboy said. "Old, patient, and merciless." The woman pressed the children closer. "Stay quiet. Don't listen." "They can't be quiet," the boy whispered. "They're not meant to be quiet," the woman said. The sheriff's men shuffled, uneasy, sensing something that didn't belong to law, to land, to life. The cowboy looked down at the dark water. Shapes pressed against the edges, faces staring. The liquid shimmered unnaturally, thick, alive. He took a deep breath, swallowed, and raised the cup again. "Watch," he said to the sheriff. "This is what happens when you force life into obedience." The water shifted. Shadows surged upward. Faces screamed silently. The cowboy's lips moved. Names poured out. Everyone he remembered. Everyone he didn't. Everyone buried in silence and dirt and law. The sheriff staggered backward. "Stop. Stop it." "I can't," the cowboy said. "They won't let me." The rope hummed in his hands. The bucket trembled as though alive. The shadows beneath it writhed, pressing closer. The air grew thick. The boy clutched his mother. "They're angry." "They always are," she whispered. The cowboy looked at her, then at the children, then back at the bucket. He let it hang there, trembling, dark water rippling unnaturally. "They remember everything," he said quietly. "And now, so do I." The sheriff stumbled closer, voice cracking. "I drink or be buried," the cowboy said, and the words hung heavy in the air. The well waited, patient. Dark. Unforgiving. Shapes beneath pressing, moving, watching. The sheriff's hand hovered, unsure. The children cried softly. The woman's eyes were steady, defiant. The cowboy swallowed again, lips pressed tight. "It's too late to turn back now," he said. And beneath him, the water waited. The sheriff's hand shook as he stepped closer to the well. His boots crunched against the dirt, echoing louder than any horse could. The cowboy didn't flinch, hands steady on the rope. The firelight flickered across the woman's face, pale and determined. The children huddled behind her, silent. "You said we'd see them," the sheriff said. His voice cracked. "Show me." The cowboy leaned over the bucket, water trembling inside. Shadows pressed against the surface. Faces emerged briefly, eyes empty, mouths opening without sound. "Names," the boy whispered. "They want their names said." "Say them," the cowboy said quietly. The sheriff blinked. "Names? What names?" "All of them," the woman said. "Everyone they lost. Everyone buried in silence." The sheriff swallowed. His eyes flicked to his men, unsure. "I don't You do, the cowboy interrupted. You just don't remember. The rope pulsed in the cowboy's hands. The bucket swayed. Shapes pressed upward, moving faster now, almost impatient. The firelight caught wet faces that shouldn't exist. The woman knelt by the boy and girl. Listen. They need their names. You can't run from it. I don't even know, the sheriff said, voice trembling. You know, the cowboy said. It's in your blood. In the law you think you serve. Every name you erased is here. The water shifted again. Shadows pressed closer to the surface. Faces stared up at him, pale and accusing. The boy leaned close to his mother. They know him, he whispered. They always know, she said. The sheriff's hand hovered over the rope. I don't understand. I didn't do. You did, the cowboy said. Every time you chose obedience over justice. Every time you looked away. The rope jerked violently. The bucket surged. Water splashed over boots and fire, soaking the sheriff's legs. The shadows pressed upward. Faces twisted, mouths opening in silent screams. The sheriff staggered back. Stop. Stop it. You can't, the cowboy said. Not here. Not now. The woman pressed the children close. They can't be silenced. They're angry, the boy whispered. Always, the woman said. The cowboy's voice dropped. Say their names. Every one. The sheriff shook his head. I don't. Yes, the cowboy said firmly. Or you'll be next. The man swallowed hard. His voice broke. Samuel. John. Mary. Thomas. The shadows under the water writhed, twisting toward the surface. Faces pressed harder, silent mouths mouthing each name. The rope hummed. The bucket trembled. The fire flickered wildly. The boy leaned closer. Say them louder. Samuel, John, Mary, Thomas. Each name reverberated in the air, carried by the firelight and the trembling earth. The shadows paused, faces turning toward him, almost satisfied. The sheriff's eyes widened. I remember them all. You will, the cowboy said. Forever. The woman watched, silent, arms around the children. Now you see, she said softly. You see why we survive. You see why we fight. And why they wait. The rope shivered. The bucket hung suspended, water thick and dark. Faces pressed against the surface, pale and wet. Names echoed in the night, each one carved into memory like stone. The sheriff's hands shook. I understand now. Good, the cowboy said. Because that's the only justice they know. The boy's voice trembled. They're satisfied, for now. They'll never stop, the woman said. They're waiting, the cowboy added. For the next mistake. The next name. The sheriff dropped to his knees, head in his hands. I can't fix it. You don't get to fix it, the cowboy said. You get to live with it. The bucket shivered one last time. Shadows beneath it settled, fading slowly. Faces gone, but the memory lingered. Names carved deep, unyielding, permanent. The cowboy stepped back. It's done for now. But don't think it's over. The woman looked at him, eyes hard. They never leave. They wait in silence. In wells, in land, in memory. The sheriff looked up, pale and trembling. I understand. You better, the cowboy said. The boy whispered, will they come for us again? They always do, the woman said. But we survive. Because we remember. The cowboy knelt, picking up the rope slowly. The water rippled gently, thick and patient, waiting for the next hand to disturb it. The sheriff stayed on his knees, broken and silent. His men shuffled uneasily behind him. The fire crackled, weak against the dark. You see what ownership really is, the cowboy said quietly. Not law. Not badges. Not fear. Memory. Names. Blood. Water. The woman hugged the children tightly. And we protect each other. That's what survives. The cowboy glanced at the well one last time. Shapes pressed below, waiting, patient, alive. The rope hummed faintly in his hands. Remember, he said to the sheriff, voice low, final. Next time you step here, don't forget. The sheriff nodded, silent. The fire sputtered. The land was still, but the air felt heavy. Alive. Watching. The boy whispered, will they let us sleep? For a while, the woman said. But never completely. They wait. The cowboy looked toward the horizon. Darkness stretched beyond the firelight. The well waited. Shapes beneath the surface moved subtly, slowly. Not gone. Not silent. Names carved in stone, the cowboy said, voice soft. That's what they are. That's what they'll always be. The children shivered, clutching their mother. The sheriff lowered his head. The fire flickered low. The rope hummed faintly, alive with the weight of memory, justice, and unyielding patience. The cowboy stood, eyes never leaving the well. It's not over, he said. It's just beginning. And beneath the water, shadows waited. The fire burned low, casting long, jittering shadows across the dirt. The cowboy stood near the well, arms crossed, eyes locked on the dark water. The woman held the children close, rocking them gently, whispering words that felt too small against the weight of the night. They'll come again, the boy whispered, eyes wide. I know, the woman said softly. But they won't take you. Not if we stay careful. Not if we remember. The sheriff sat a few feet away, his head hanging low. His badge gleamed faintly in the firelight, meaningless against what had been revealed. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just watched the cowboy, who seemed more part of the land than a man. You're going to leave? The sheriff asked finally, voice low. Yes, the cowboy said. But the well doesn't leave. The sheriff looked toward the dark water, unease curling his stomach. And if it follows? It always does, the cowboy said. It waits for memory. Names. Mistakes. The water takes none lightly. The woman kissed the children's heads, whispering to each of them. We survived because we remembered. That's why we stay alive. The boy looked up. Will it forgive us? The cowboy shook his head. Forgive? Never. But it doesn't need to. You just carry it, like we all do. Until the next time. The girl whimpered, small and trembling. I don't want to remember anymore. You have to, the woman said. That's the only way to be free. Free enough to live. The rope hummed faintly near the well. The cowboy knelt and ran his hand over it. The water below shifted slightly, dark shapes brushing the surface. He didn't flinch. Not anymore. They're still there, the boy whispered. Yes, the cowboy said. Always. Waiting. Watching. The sheriff swallowed hard. How do you survive knowing that? The cowboy looked at him, eyes steady. You survive by not looking away. By saying the names. By remembering what no one else will. That's all. The woman hugged the children tighter. And you protect each other. That's what matters. A ripple crossed the water. Not fast. Not urgent. Just deliberate, patient. The shadows beneath shifted again. Faces pressed against the surface. Pale, wet, and watching. Do they forgive mistakes? The sheriff asked, voice trembling. Only if you admit them, the cowboy said. Otherwise, they wait. The boy whispered, are they angry? They're not angry, the woman said. They're justice. Patient. Unyielding. And they remember everything. The cowboy picked up the rope, testing its weight. The water trembled faintly. He nodded. It's ready. For the next hand that touches it. The next life it watches. That's the way it's always been. The girl leaned closer, eyes wide. Will it hurt us? Yes, the cowboy said softly. If we forget. If we lie. If we ignore what's been done. But if we remember, we survive.